Hey, what's up guys? Just a quick update about my Warwick JHB signature bass. Today what I'm going to do is show you some great footage showing how the neck is shaped and developed further from that big block of wood that we saw in the last video. If you haven't checked that video out yet, then be sure to click on the link above and watch that one first. But before I take you into the Warwick Custom Shop, I've got a big announcement for you. So for the last few months, I've been working flat out updating my website, joehubbardbass.com. I'm hoping that the new site will be going live next week, so be sure to click on the link in the description box from Monday, April 23rd, 2018, and check it out. So until then, practice smart, work hard, and play creatively. Okay, so this whole process begins by placing the raw wood block that we saw in the last video on a special bed. And what this does is it creates a vacuum beneath the wood. You can see him hammering this down. And this enables everything to stay at the exact same position during the entire process. This is what guarantees the sort of highest accuracy throughout the whole thing. Now, at Warwick, what's really cool about what they do is they use computerized 3D models of every part that they have that they're going to carve in that machine. So what's really cool about that is that if you wanted to get this bass, for instance, but you wanted a few different specifications, then they could easily do that, and with high accuracy, which is very cool. You can sort of see this rooting machine starting to carve out the headstock. Now what's really cool about this rooting machine is that it is based on a 5-axis system, and there's a lot of companies that use the same technology, but they actually tend to use a 3-axis system. So with this 5-axis system, what it does is it gives you the ability to go up and down, back and forth, left and right, but also these robotic arms can rotate up to 360 degrees and then tilt itself automatically to carve different angled edges, and that's like super cool. This whole thing makes it possible to really carve different complicated shapes, and really the only thing that is the limitation is your imagination. See, now it's going around and carving that cool headstock that Warwick is famous for. Now what happens here is you can see this fan is blowing away these wood shavings, and this is really another cool aspect about the company, because what they do is they end up collecting those shavings, and then they use those shavings to power the whole factory. So what that does is it sort of means that they're a sort of completely green powered company. Now, another thing that you're going to notice is that with this technology, they can use different drill bits on each one of those robotic arms. And, if they want to sort of carve out a different shape or a different surface as well, because as this process continues, you'll see that it will use different heads to get a smoother surface. Sort of speeding this up a little bit. I mean, I think the raw footage that I got initially for just this bit here was about 45 minutes. So it's quite in depth. You can see there's another different little head there, like a little bladed head, which is really creating a much smoother finish on the neck. Just very cool technology, the way this whole thing works. So what happens here is they blow away all these shavings, and these shavings get blown back by that back wall, and then there's a vent that collects it, and that's where it then gets automatically sort of routed to use it for powering the plant. Now at the end of the process, the operator steps in, he pulls out the neck so far, and he's inspecting it, giving a good look over, making sure that everything turned out as it should be. And one of the things that I really want you to check out as you see some of the close-ups here is just look at the quality of that wood. It's like unbelievable. Okay, so we're now moving on to the sanding of the fingerboard part of the process. Notice how the neck has been put into a new machine, and they are moving it across so it goes over the roll of sandpaper. They start as sort of higher grade and then go down to a finer grade. There's a few different stages of this. The neck sort of sliding across to achieve the fingerboard radius that I'm looking for. Now this bass is going to have a flat fingerboard radius, and there's a lot of benefit from having a flatter fingerboard radius, especially when it comes to tuning. A lot of people don't realize, especially with a 5-string and you've got 19 mil spacing, the more curved the fingerboard radius is, the more the intonation is compromised. It's okay on a Fender jazz bass style instrument to have that, but on this type of instrument it's much better, much more accurate tuning wise to have a flatter board. Now notice also the angle of the headstock. This bass has an extreme angle there, and this is what helps to keep the strings down behind the nut at the winding end. And in the process, it ends up increasing the string tension. I like a really nice tight string tension, which allows me to dig in and get the strings to really speak. So this is what I'm really after with this bass, and I'm really looking forward to playing this. See here, we're now going to another station where it's got a finer grade of sandpaper. It just keeps smoothing it out, and you know, it's just to the very fine detail. Everything's programmed for accuracy. Every time it's going to be the same for what they program into it. Now this is really cool. Check this out. Whoa, see how that just kind of flips over like that? How cool is that? So now what starts to happen here is this is the fret cutting process. And one of the things that Warwick has, which I really, really like, is what they call the invisible fret technology. I'm sure that you've experienced when there's extreme weather changes, how your frets can start to move and stick out on the end of your fretboard. And even in some cases, like with me, they've actually cut my hand while I've been playing. And I hate that. It's one of my pet peeves. So this will never happen on these Warwick basses, and the reason is because the way they cut those frets and the way they lay the frets, they do not overlap outside on the edges of the fingerboard. So you'll see here now there's another machine coming to the right of the screen, which takes that just very finely right to the end, but not all the way cut through the fingerboard. It's just a fine detail. We're just speeding that up a little. Go through that process, as you can see how that works. And this is very accurate, and everything's calculated to 1/1000th of an inch here. Here you can see just the end bit of the fingerboard, where then that's going to be joining the body. It's just being shaved off there, and then it's going to be really smoothed out, so there's no sort of wood that's sticking out or any kind of splinters that are happening on it. I don't know if you noticed it as well as, you could see that fingerboard having the frets cut, but the detail of the actual marbling on that bird's eye maple. And it's extraordinary because this isn't even finished yet. I mean, what I mean is that there's no lacquer or oil on it at all. Now, in this phase here, again, at the end of that, the human element comes back into the whole process just to attend to the finer details of the complete sanding process. And notice how they're curving that around. And then there's like a further sanding. You'll see that this guy is going to use some different grades of, he's got a sanding block, and he's going to start to use different grades of sandpaper until it's almost like a French polish. It's really cool the way they do that, and just get this, really to the nth degree. It's these little fine details that I find that Warwick really excels compared to other companies. I often find, you spend like $3,000 or $4,000 on a bass, and so many of the little things are left out. I never understand that. Never understand it. But basses aren't set up properly when you get them. See there, just taking like that real fine sandpaper there, and then now taking a measurement tool, making sure that length is absolutely spot on. Okay guys, so be sure to tune in next week. I'm going to show you the rooting process with the front and the back of the body next week, and that's going to be way cool.